Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Today is September 29th. I'm getting echoing, so if somebody can mute their computer, that would be great. Thank you so much. It's September 29th, 2020, and we are here for the virtual candidate forum for Oceanside City Council Districts 1 and 2. We want to give a special thank you tonight for some of the folks who put in all the background work to make this happen. First, our own unit of the League of Women Voters of North County, San Diego, and our co-sponsors this evening, the Oceanside Chapter of Represent Us. I'm Elizabeth Brady, a proud member of the League and your moderator for this evening. As you saw in the preliminary video, the League was formed in 1920 when women first got the right to vote, and it was to really help them become educated voters. Well, we love our historical name, but don't let it fool you. We welcome everyone, and our mission is something that appeals to all kinds of folks, and I'm inviting you to come and join us. Remember, we're always trying to promote active, informed citizenry who can vote intelligently in every election, both for candidates and on the propositions, which can be a real challenge in California. So tonight you'll get a chance to see some of your candidates, but I also wanted to let you know that on Saturday, October 15th, there will be a Zoom meeting from the League to talk about those propositions that are coming up. We do it in a completely non-biased way, and it's called the Pros and Cons Forum. You will hear both the good things and the not so good things so that you can make a decision how to vote on the proposition. Let me emphasize that the League of Women Voters never, ever endorses or opposes any political candidate or party for public office. In fact, in order to avoid any even appearance of conflict, the women from the League who sorted the questions, our timer this evening, and myself all live outside and vote outside of Oceanside. Tonight, we'll be hearing from the candidates from two districts, District 1 and District 2. They're running for a 4-year term that starts in January 2023. A few words about the format tonight. We're going to start with a 2-minute candidate opening statement. Then we're going to move into questions. How do we get the questions? Prior to this evening, we asked community members to submit them on our League website. The questions have been sorted by trained League members with oversight from the sponsors. What they're doing is just trying to eliminate duplicate questions or ones that aren't relevant to the election at hand. Then as we get into these question and answers, we're going to ask a question to the folks in District 1. They'll all have a chance to answer. Another question will come up for District 2, and they will have a chance to answer. We drew lots before we joined you, the audience this evening, so that we have the order in which they'll be speaking, and I'll be rotating it through the program. Generally, they're going to have 1 minute to answer the questions, but I always reserve the right to throw in a speed round if I want to, but I'll make sure everybody knows before I do that. I want to let everyone in the audience see the way we're going to help the candidates stay on track with their 1-minute answers. We have a timer from the League who, when there is 30 seconds left in their time to answer, will hold up the 30-second sign. Can we demonstrate that? There it is. That's your warning sign. And likewise, when they've run out of time and they need to cut their comments, the timer will show this stop sign. Got it? Great. A reminder, we are recording tonight. The recording is the property of the League of Women Voters of North County, San Diego. If we grant you permission to show it, you must show it in its entirety. It absolutely cannot be edited for political purposes. If you'd like to see this video later or share it with someone who didn't have a chance to be here tonight, we'll post it in a couple of days on our website. That is lwvncsd.org. It was a lot of initials, but all it is League of Women Voters, North County, San Diego, lwvncsd.org. I think with that, we can begin. Starting with District 1, the first opening comment comes from candidate McGee. He'll have 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in the city of Oceanside. I lived here all my life. I'm a victim of violent crime. I had people killed, murdered in my family. In the city of Oceanside, the leaders, they do nothing about it. And I've talked to other family members, other people who are victims, like all the women that were raped, the 316 rapes that happened. The rape test kits are not being tested in the city of Oceanside. And our leaders should put pressure on these people. Women are being raped and assaulted, and our police chief and everybody on the board does not care. Every time I talk to people about this, their jaw drops and say, this can't be true, Alvin, but it is true. That's Oceanside for you. I've been here all my life. I've seen people shot, killed. I've seen a lot of things in the city of Oceanside. The homeless situation is out of control. If you walk around the city, you'll smell urine and feces all over the place. I walked the downtown area. It's terrible. And we need police accountability because they deny the citizens of record requests and anything else that they come looking for. I'm living proof of this. So that's all I really want to say. We need to put pressure on our officials.
Thank you for that. Next opening statement comes from candidate Selnick.
Thank you. I'm Darin Selnick, retired military officer and your neighbor. It would truly be an honor and a privilege to be your next city councilman. I've lived in District 1 with my wife, Ann, for over 11 years, and I've devoted myself to a lifetime of service, commitment, and integrity through my military service and volunteering in the community. I belong to the American Legion, Oceanside Chamber of Commerce, and Elks Lodge. I'm also a board member of New Directions for Veterans, which provides housing and services for homeless veterans. So why should you vote for me? 4 reasons: caring, yes, qualified, responsiveness, and results. Caring, Oceanside is my forever home. I deeply care and I'm very passionate about serving all the residents in the district and ensuring Oceanside has a bright future. We need positive change that will make a real difference in the everyday lives of every resident. I want Oceanside to be the drive-to city, not the drive-by city. That's qualified. A good city council member needs the right experience and expertise to navigate and be successful in dealing with the challenges Oceanside and the district face. I have that experience, expertise, and successful track record of getting the job done throughout my over 30-year career in the military, business, and government. Responsibly. Residents want a council member who will be responsive to them. I will always quickly respond to all residents who contact me, ensure they get the attention they deserve and get an answer. You can count on that. And lastly, results. Residents are tired of not getting results, just broken promises and excuses like with homelessness. Throughout my career, I've always gotten results both in the short and long term. Getting results, I will be fighting for the district and putting residents first. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me and putting on this candidates forum. I look forward to answering all the questions submitted by the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is candidate Jensen.
Hi, I'm Kori Jensen, and I am the current appointed council member for District 1. I was appointed to the position almost 2 years ago, and it was right after the pandemic. Everything on Zoom. It was strange times, and that's exactly why I got involved. During the pandemic, everything changed in Oceanside. Am I still there? Everything changed in Oceanside, and the homeless crisis was growing exponentially. I actually had to put a fence up to keep the homeless from sleeping on my porch and using my hose for a shower. So when I got involved with the city council, that was my primary concern, was getting a homeless shelter in Oceanside because we didn't have one, and working on cleaning up the streets in the city. And I think that in the last 2 years, I've been able to get a lot done. There's still a ton more to do. We do have a shelter coming, which is a great tool for law enforcement to be able to bring our homeless in to work with case managers and be assessed and be directed to the treatment facilities that they need. And we have a great program coming up with a new pressure washing company that's going to come and keep our streets clean, because I know that's been a real problem that's been brought on by the homeless. And another thing that's important to me is I also realized that Oceanside didn't have any dog parks, and I was really surprised. So that's kind of been a personal mission for me to ensure that we get some dog parks and possibly even some beach access for off-leash dogs. And that's why I'm running, to continue with the work that I've been doing.
Thank you. We move on to candidate Joyce.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting tonight's important forum. I know that the people of Oceanside really appreciate this opportunity to get to know everybody a lot better, and it's really important for us to be upfront and transparent with everyone. My name is Eric Joyce. I'm a special education teacher. I am a father, a bike surfer. I am also a school board member here in Oceanside. I volunteer with lots of organizations, including I'm a chair member of the committee to end the school to prison pipeline with the North County NAACP. And I love our city. And so as this election came up, I thought it was really important to make sure that we had somebody in the District 1 seat that is present in the community, that's listening to the needs of the people who live here, that's willing to stand up to developers, that's willing to really also build a coalition of people that want to see our city work for Oceansiders. So we have a tremendous opportunity. I'm absolutely all in and just excited to be a part of it. So thanks for having this tonight, and I look forward to answering more questions.
Thank you, candidates from District 1. Now let's get introductions from the District 2 candidates. We'll begin with candidate Robinson.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you to the League for having us all here tonight to talk about the issues that are important to you. And so I want to introduce myself. I am Rick Robinson. I'm running a first-time candidate running for office here in the city of Oceanside in District 2. And if you're not familiar with District 2, we're also known as the Valley. My wife and I are 34-year residents. We lived in the same home here in Oceanside. We raised our 4 children here in Oceanside. And now we have 11 grandchildren who get to come visit us and enjoy the many things that we share with them here in our city. Some of you may know that although I'm a first-time candidate, I'm not new to the city. I spent the last 6 years as the fire chief here in the city of Oceanside. And in July of this year, I retired after 45 years in the fire service. So I'm very, very aware of the issues, the things that are taking place here in the city, and the individuals that work for the city, the department directors, council staff, and those people. So one of the things that I'm very proud of is that on day one, I'll be able to hit the ground running and working for you, my neighbors. I have a education in organizational management and a bachelor's degree in education. I am endorsed by a number of groups here in Oceanside, in all of our public safety groups in the Chamber of Commerce. My wife and I are very involved here in the city. I belong to American Legion Post 760. I am a veteran, and also a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Very involved with the Boys and Girls Club, and we support many of our community groups. So I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, from District 2, candidate Dominguez.
I'd like to thank the League for having this forum. Wish everybody a good evening. My name is Daniel Dominguez, and I'm a candidate for Oceanside City Council District 2. I'm a small business owner, environmental advocate, former labor leader, husband, and father, and I lived in Oceanside for over 20 years. I raised my family here, I run my business here, and I know what our community needs to thrive. I'm running because Oceanside needs a council member who will listen to the residents and communities of Oceanside. A council member who will work to address the homeless crisis and support affordable housing development, increase public safety, protect our environment, support our seniors and veterans, and invest in the local economic development. I've worked my entire professional life to create jobs in our community, protect our environment, and foster a prosperous local economy. As a former elected union leader, I've worked with the College of Maricosta. We set up programs so that people in the local community could find jobs, get training, and get jobs in the electric utility sector. I have over 15 years experience advocating for members of our community, both at the state level and the federal level. I've helped develop state laws to protect utility customers. I've worked with members of Congress to help clear nuclear waste from the San Onofre Beach. I had a long career in the electric utility business, where I worked as a nuclear reactor operator and project manager overseeing projects. Additionally, I've had training in mediation and conflict management and financial planning at the University of California, Irvine. District 2 deserves a council member who understands exactly what our community needs to thrive. Now,
Thank you so much for that. We'll get more of a chance to know you. A couple of little administrative things just to make the audio and visual a little bit better. Can I remind the candidates, if you're not answering the question, to mute? That'll help us with our feedback. And can I also remind you that we have a request that you stay on camera? With that, we can begin the questions. We will start with District 1. The first question from your community is, our climate action plan was adopted in 2019, but very little has been done to implement it. What actions, if any, do you think are needed to reduce local greenhouse gas emissions? Candidate McGee, will you answer first, please?
Well, I think that we need to go solar and do more of that if we can. Nobody's really trying to do anything at the farmers market. They're still using electricity. The vendors should be using solar. They've been there for 27 years already, and nobody's attempting it. We talk about reducing the greenhouse gases, but are we really going to do anything about it? So that's what I was thinking. You know, we need to do more solar. We need to get out to the community, talk to the kids, and come up with good creative ideals. There's not too many people with good ideals in the city of Oceanside. That's just what I think, that we should go more solar. I have solar stuff in my house right now as we speak. I use solar lighting all the time, try to cut my electricity bill, because things are just getting too expensive out there in the city, everywhere.
Thank you. The same question to candidate Selnick.
Thank you. I mean, certainly with a plan, I believe that we should be incentivizing people, not forcing them to do things. And I myself got solar last year. It just made sense. But in terms of improving what we do with the plan, I've looked at a lot of city plans, and the problem with these plans is they really don't have timelines, milestones, follow-up, and accountability. If we really want to make forward progress on a plan like a climate action plan, we need to look at those plans. We need to look at how we actually put in the milestones and the actions to actually track results and report quarterly back to the city council on those plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to candidate Jensen.
Thank you. Actually, we just discussed this last night at our council meeting. Our climate action plan was a topic of discussion. And even though we've taken a lot of steps towards implementing our climate action plan, we really don't have measurable results. So what we're discussing now is actually hiring a administrator for that purpose, to measure all of the effectiveness of all of the things that we've implemented. And then that way we'd be able to report, or that person would be able to report back, and we would know exactly which programs are most effective and what's working, what's not working. And I think that that's really going to help us move forward a lot faster than we are right now.
Candidate Joyce?
Yes, so I absolutely agree that we need to make quick progress on this. The climate is a crisis, and if we don't solve it, there is not a future. We're giving away our children's future. So I would suggest that we first adopt a climate action committee. I think it's good to have somebody in charge at the district. I mean, at the council, but it's really important to bring folks in so there's buy-in to the plan. We have lots of individuals in our city that are brilliant, that are really interested in this work. I'm interested in bringing them in so that we formalize their suggestions, we bring them to council regularly, and we actually involve the voice of the people that live here in the decision-making process when it comes to climate, because the impacts are felt for all of us, but they are most felt in our neighborhoods that have been left behind, especially those that don't have access to buying solar or some of the other electric vehicles that we talked about.
Thank you. Now, the first question to District 2. How will you prioritize the needs of your Oceanside constituents over the wants and wishes of out-of-town moneyed housing developers? We'll ask candidate Robinson to answer first.
Well, thank you for that question. And that's actually one of the platform statements that I have, is to support the district and the city, but support my district members by prioritizing their needs, by listening to them. And so there is a difference, I think, between wants and needs, and city councils often have to distill things down to what is the need. Listen to what the wants are, and then get to the root of what the need is, because our funding is not limitless. And so I will have forums. I will be out there listening to my community. Of course, we're going to hear from outside developers and such, what they want, but it's really about listening and then putting everything into the mix to consider what's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Candidate Dominguez? Your mute, please.
Thank you. Sorry about the mute. Anyway, that's kind of an easy question for me, is that for one thing, my campaign has been primarily focused on small donations. I haven't taken any donations from developers or special interests. I primarily finance my campaign through loans. It's very important to communicate with the people. I spent a career working as a union leader, and that was the primary issue, or the primary job I had, was listening to people and working with them to solve their problems. So I have a ton of experience dealing with people problems. I have a ton of experience dealing with complex energy problems, complex engineering problems. I think I have the skill set to be a good fit for the city council.
Thank you. District 1, a new question for you. In development and land use, will you listen to the residents as much or more than to the developers? For the first response, we'll go to candidate Selnick.
Thank you. Absolutely. As I've been going door to door, that's been a top concern for residents. They feel almost like second-class citizens in their own city behind developers' interests. So it's critical that you not only listen to them, that you bring them together with the developers so that whatever the development is, it fits with the neighborhood. And so that's the key. It's not just listening, but it's actually doing something with that. And so often people are like, oh, well, you just listened, but you didn't really do anything. So are you really listening? And so that's the key. We need developers, but we need to do what's best for the residents first, and what fits. And we got to reestablish a balance, because I feel like the city's out of balance and the residents feel like the city's out of balance. So we have to reestablish that balance so that we can have the proper development, but it's also going to fit in the neighborhoods, and it's going to work in the city, and the residents once again feel like their needs come first. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jensen.
Yes, absolutely. And we are in a housing crisis, and we need more housing at all levels. And, you know, Sacramento has really kind of forced us into doing things that we weren't quite ready to do. We have to bring in 4,000 more housing units in all levels. And we are trying to bring that in along the transit corridor because we really want people, you know, using public transportation and walking and biking as much as possible. And unfortunately, you know, Oceanside, and I'm a third generation Oceanside businesswoman. So I know I'm a hometown girl, I'm a homer. I don't like out of town developers coming at all. And, you know, it's difficult, but at the same time, we have to meet our arena numbers and we have to do what's right for every income level to be able to obtain housing in Oceanside.
Candidate Joyce?
Yes, so absolutely. The people need to know that their representative is listening to them. So the way I started that is with the campaign, because your campaign is an extension of how you're going to govern. I have not accepted money from developers. I haven't asked for money from developers, and that includes in town or out of town. I think it's really important for us to know that our campaigns are built from grassroots up. So when we get into the space where we are governing now, it is about bringing people together, and it is about the housing numbers. So it's not arena number, it's that access to housing is really difficult. The squeeze is on renters like myself and my family and the thousands of other renters in our city who are looking at the fact that they're going to have to leave the city they lived and grown up in their whole lives because we just don't have somewhere for them to live that's affordable. It's an unacceptable outcome. And the reason that we're being forced to is because for decades, we have failed to implement a proper plan to make sure that housing is attainable. So absolutely, my voice and my ear is to the people, and we're going to enact that.
Candidate McGee?
Well, first of all, let me say, I wouldn't take a dime from any real estate investor. I wouldn't even want to talk to them, not unless it's about affordable housing. And they don't bring affordable housing to the city. They're all about the money. Let me give you the numbers of what they're charging for rent over here now for the new people coming in. $2,900 a month, $2,700 a month, $2,400 a month. And that's for the 1 bedroom, the 2 bedroom, or the 2 bedroom with the loft. There's nobody, your kids cannot pay this money. We need a citywide mandate from the mayor and everybody on the council and the city manager to change this. It's not going to change. Real estate investors about money and money only, and you guys know it. I would never take a dime from those people. They kill our city, and you guys know it. That's why we're in this position we are in, because of real estate investor. And these people keep going up on the price every month. They're trying to force the old people out.
Thank you for
and get the
that.
new.
Thank you for sharing. Your time is up, unfortunately. All right, the question for District 2. Oceanside was one of the last cities in the region to adopt their CAP, the Climate Action Plan. Are you satisfied with Oceanside's CAP? If not, what would you do to improve it? The first candidate to respond will be candidate Dominguez.
Thank you. Yes, more can be done on Oceanside's climate action plan. As I said, I spent a career in the energy business. Oceanside is not moving what I would think in a fast enough effort to prepare for the electrification of the city. The state of California is mandating that new homes, vehicles will be all electric in the coming future. They haven't built out any charging infrastructure. They're deploying solar, but solar is only about a 30% capacity factor. And to increase that, you need battery storage. So they need to deploy more battery storage to make the solar work. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson?
Thank you. So the city's climate action plan, we have experts that are working on developing these plans. And so I rely on them to put together the best plan for the city. So I think that right now we have a climate action plan that we should put to the test. And I would disagree with my opponent in saying that the city has begun some of the work. There are some charging stations with the federal government, what they approved today with the charging stations across the nation. We hopefully will receive some money to start that process even more robustly. Solar, we do have solar projects in the works or that have been completed in the city. So I think what we have to do is understand we just left the planning process. Now we're getting into putting the process to work, and we need to see how things progress.
Thank you. Back to District 1. Your citizens want to put a fine point on this. If you take money from people with projects they plan for Oceanside, will you recuse yourself when they come up for a vote? We'll look for the first response from candidate Jensen.
I think that's a difficult question, because I feel like they're implying that if somebody donates $100 to your campaign, that you're going to base your decisions on that money. And the majority of the money in my campaign has come from grassroots, small donations, 90% from just Oceanside. And would I have to recuse myself from a question that maybe one of those donors was involved in? I don't know. I mean, it's really, if you think about it like $100 donation, is that going to change the way I vote? Absolutely not. You know, it's an interesting question, but I don't think that, you know, depending on the situation, that a recusal would be required. So I'm not going to say yes, I will, or no, I won't, because it's a subjective question and every situation is going to be different. And I have a very long list of Oceanside donors. So
Thank you for that. On to candidate Joyce for his response.
That will not be a problem. I won't have to worry about it because I don't take those donations. It's not a hard question. I respectfully disagree. Money has too much influence in politics, period. We as candidates need to take that on seriously and run our campaigns and then govern in a way that proves that we can be trusted. Trust in our local government and our federal government, our state government, it's at an all-time low. We cannot continue like this. It's dangerous, and we really do need to stand up and say no. And I believe this is just the beginning. I would like to completely reform a lot of our process so that we can make sure that the people who are representing us at the city council reflect our values and stand up for what we're asking them to do.
Candidate McGee.
Well, I don't have to worry about none of that because I'm not taking money from anybody. That's what we should be doing. You should care about the city and the people and not getting how much money you can get just to run your campaign. Money is the root of all evil, and I don't have to do nothing with it. I'm out there meeting and greeting people. I'm telling them my story. I'm telling them about the city, the way things were and the way things should be. So I will not take a dime from anyone. I'm out there doing the leg work, meeting people, talking to people, trying to be everywhere I can be. So I will not take a dime from anybody. I'm trying something new, and that's to be money free for campaign. I don't want to be influenced by anybody giving me money. It's a terrible thing because once you take the money, you're not for the voters no more. You're for yourself and the people who give you that money. You have to listen to what they say, what they want. That's why all these endorsements that are coming in, I'm not even entertaining them.
Thank you. Candidate Selnick.
Yes, thank you. Let me make it very clear that I'm not taking any developer dollars. My campaign is fully funded by individuals, and the rest of it self-funded by myself. If someone was to get a very large donation from a developer, yeah, I think potentially they would need to recuse themselves. This is something that comes up constantly as I go door to door with residents concerned that the developers are paying off city council. I'm not saying that's true or not. I'm just saying that is their concern, and perception is reality. So it's very, very important. And that's one of the reasons why I want to be fully independent. I don't want to be feel like anyone thinks, they bought my vote. So that's why I don't take, haven't taken any money from groups, just individuals and self-funding.
Thank you. District 2, in planning for housing, will you emphasize affordable and housing for the homeless as highest priorities to development? We'll begin with candidate Robinson.
Thank you. Yes, I think that in our housing situation, it has to encumber the needs of those low-income individuals, and trying to get folks that are homeless that want to be in a home. We need to do whatever we can to get them out of the homeless situation. I also want to look at expanding the use of workforce housing, so that those individuals that work here in the city have a place that they can live here in the city, so they don't have to live outside the county and travel in. So those are the things that I will be interested in working with projects as they come in. Thank you.
Candidate Dominguez.
Yes. Yeah, we need to incentivize more affordable housing as an interim too. We also need to increase the in lieu fees that developers pay. Oceanside has one of the lowest in lieu fees. I think it's $8.60. And so we need to increase those to be able to fund more affordable housing. In addition to creating more affordable housing, we also need to protect the affordable housing that we have currently. Specifically, I refer to mobile home parks. There's 17 in the city of Oceanside, 7 of them in District 2 alone. Mostly inhabited or residents are mostly seniors, retired veterans, and lower income people. And they're all rent protected, and we need to ensure that the rent protection continues. We need to enhance those rent protections for those individuals in the mobile home parks.
Thank you. You all are doing really well. So I'm going to throw a loop at you. I'm going to ask you to answer this question in one sentence. I know I'm asking a lot from some of you. Please answer this in one sentence, and it will be the same question for both districts. What is the most important thing you want to accomplish as a council member? We'll begin with candidate Joyce.
I want to create a sustainable city where all of our neighborhoods have a voice in the process and the future of what our city can be.
Candidate McGee.
I ran for mayor in 2020 for rent control, so let's lower the rent.
Candidate Selnick.
Number one issue for residents is homelessness. I want to finally put together the right solutions to fix that problem, short and long term, once and for all.
Candidate Jensen.
I would like to get our shelter open and resolve our homeless situation.
Candidate Dominguez.
Transparency in government. Make sure that our residents know that the government's working for them and they become involved with their government.
Candidate Robinson.
Desire to help our city continue in its move forward, its progress, and to live up to its complete expectations.
Thank you all. Very well done. We're back to District 1 for a question directed to them. What do you see as the top 3 environmental concerns impacting Oceanside? What have you done personally to help mitigate those concerns? And what will you do to help Oceanside mitigate environmental concerns? First up is candidate McGee.
Well, the first thing is to get the people off the street. because you guys probably don't see the filth and the nastiness. I've been in the homeless camps, okay? I had family members who were homeless, okay? So that's a big problem. I seen the homeless camp, and then you see the river, and then you see the water leading into the ocean where the people from that is terrible. That's sewage going into our oceans. So we definitely need to get homeless people off the street. I'm on the Residents Advisory Board. Homelessness and rent are the number one topics, okay? And when we do that, we can do a lot better.
Thank you. Candidate Selnick.
Yes, in terms of environmental, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at that. For example, we have a lot of trash in the city throughout the area and the riverbed. That's a problem. Homelessness and the accompanying problems with that, with the encampments, is another problem. And water. I mean, we're kind of a desert. Water is a big problem, and consistently trying to get more water. We have very expensive water, but that's a big environmental issue, is the use of water, having water, and making sure we have water. That's it. Thanks.
Candidate Jensen.
Yes, the environmental concerns are huge. We're in a drought. We have sea level rise. In our general plan, it's expected to come up 10 feet, and we're planning for that in the city of Oceanside. We've also started the recycling of the food scraps, which was a huge project in choosing the company that was going to implement that. And we were able to choose Agri Service, who's right here in Oceanside, that does our green waste recycling and works with the seniors on gardening, and is a really important member of our community. And I was very happy to be part of that decision to keep Agri Service in charge. And sand replacement and retention is huge. It's a huge environmental issue that we're going to have to be working on and focused on. We have a coastal zone administrator that we brought on, and her job is going to—
Thank you so much. Candidate Joyce.
Okay, number one, clean air, clean water. If you don't have water, you can't live. We have to keep our water infrastructure up to date. We have a great investments that we've started in that, but we need a long-term, we need to keep moving down the path. Once we finish all of our construction, we'll have about 44% of our water will be localized here, which is a great start. We have taken a lead, but we need to keep moving. Rising oceans, we District 1 itself it has most of the coast of Oceanside. There are infrastructure, there are people that lives will be forever changed as the rising ocean happens. That's why it's so important that we do our part on climate. And then third, which I haven't heard brought up yet, is wildfires. Wildfire season is not from this month to this month. It's always now. We live in a perpetual wildfire season, and we have seen complete towns be devastated, and it is the effects of climate change are moving people out of zones like ours that are dry. We have to be mitigating the risk that we face with wildfires. We need dedicated resources to do so.
District 2. How will you prevent senior homelessness? We'll ask candidate Robinson to answer first.
I think that's a difficult task to prevent all senior homelessness. And I think everyone here's hope is that we want every senior to be in their home and remain in their home. I think as a city, what we need to do, and we do this now, and we need to continue to reach out to our senior population. We need to continue to provide financial assistance. We need to advocate for our seniors at a state and federal level and make them a priority, and to ensure that they have the support, that they have food, they have a clean place to live, and access to all the basic needs that they need. So I think it's just to be an advocate and to monitor those situations.
Candidate Dominguez.
Seniors are probably our most valuable asset. My campaign, I've advocated for reinstituting a senior commission in the city of Oceanside, a commission that will look what I call the seniors' Bill of Rights, the right to affordable housing, the right to secure and safe housing, the right to organize, and the right to live free of discrimination, and the right for needed services and physical accessibility, and the right to transparency and accountability in their government. We need to, as I said earlier, is that seniors, a lot of seniors work, live in these mobile home parks, and we need to ensure that they continue to enjoy the rent protections that the city of Oceanside implemented in 1980 and reaffirmed again in 2012. Thank you.
Thank you. A very similar question goes to District 1, although stay on your toes because we're reversing the sequencing this time on who answers. Your question specifically is, how will you increase affordable housing? We'll start with candidate Joyce.
So first of all, we have organizations that locally in this region that do affordable housing, they do it well, and they want to do it. One of the problems that we've had as a city is that there has been a stigma that if we bring in affordable housing, then we're going to be hurting our city overall. And some of our leadership have expressed an extreme hesitance to that. We absolutely need to address affordable housing. To do so, I will be working with our smart and sustainable corridor plan and following it to a T to make sure that we are bringing in developers who are willing to do this the right way. And I'd also be willing for us to be doing it as a city and not just putting it off on other organizations, but we need to be willing to take these things on ourselves and also take responsibility for the outcomes that those affordable housing projects develop.
Candidate Jensen.
We do have a few projects coming into Oceanside right now regarding affordable housing, and we have a really great project off of Mission Avenue in the Valley that is very successful as far as helping people not only with affordable housing, but helping them get on their feet and financial planning and actually teaching them how to be able to purchase their own home one day. But I think that, yes, the sustainable corridors, the transit corridors where we want that housing so people don't have to have cars to drive. And I think we have a lot of projects coming that are going to fill that need.
Thank you, candidate Selnick.
Yes, I think we need to first start with how much affordable housing do we need? How do we get there? And the way we're going to get there is we need to work with developers to build it. And developers need to make a profit. In order to make a profit, we need to incentivize them to do it. If you can just pay off a development and not have to really do it, you're not going to do it. But if you're going to force people to do it, you're not going to get good housing as well. So we need to incentivize, we need to develop flexibility, we need to streamline the process, and we really need to put this in perspective and really, once again, not just have a plan, but have the numbers, have the accountability, and have the actions on that. And the only way to do that is to really work with the developers and understand what we need, how we're going to get there, and really have our plans modified, improved to figure out quarter by quarter, year by year, the numbers so we can make up the deficit in terms of all of affordable housing.
Thank you. Candidate McGee.
Well, let me say this again. No developer is coming in to give up affordable housing, people. It would have been here already. Don't you see all this development going on now? Where is it? When is it coming? We keep waiting and waiting. And why? These seniors are moving out to other places because the rent's too high. It's way too high. If you probably try to get them all on HUD or something, I mean, that's a long wait, 10 years for that. It's terrible. We're in a terrible situation with housing right now, people. All you got to do is go around the city and look at all these people. And with seniors, they are one paycheck away from being homeless. Okay, you got to think about that. One paycheck away, then you'll see them out there in the streets, running around. It's terrible.
Thank you. A question to District 2. What is your plan to address ongoing gang violence in historic neighborhoods? Candidate Dominguez.
One of the major platforms of my campaign is public safety. The residents of Oceanside need or deserve a city where it's safe to walk in the street, where they're safe in their homes. I fully support the funding for both police and fire services so that they can respond with an appropriate amount of time to either crime scenes or medical emergencies. We need to also work with neighborhood watch groups. Walking the neighborhoods in some of these, walking the neighborhoods in some of these areas, they are neighborhood watch groups that impress me, but the city needs to work more closely with them, support and nurture the neighborhood watch groups.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson.
Thank you. Anybody that's lived in this city for any length of time will say and know that the gang situation in this city is dramatically better than it was in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I give all the credit to our local police department, who's worked very, very hard to implement strategies to lower the amount of gang violence in our cities. That doesn't mean that it's gone. And I think we need to continue to support our police department in those efforts. The other thing we need to do is give those who are going to fall into gang activity alternatives. And as a city, we can, through our rec centers and other associations, we can help fund and find those alternatives to get them into other things, sports and after school programs and things like that, so that they know that there's an alternative to gangs. Thank you.
District 1. What is your plan to address the park and open space problems in Oceanside? Not enough fields, not enough lights, not enough access. Candidate Jensen.
That's a great question. We do need more field access for our sports teams. And I think that we really need to work with the school district and the schools and schedule some shared time and that actually works. I know we've had programs and we've tried to do that in the past and it wasn't very successful. But I think if we all work together as far as time sharing our fields and bringing more lights to our fields, which we just added lights to one school, but I think there's more opportunities for lights on other fields, which would give more access to the different groups. But it's definitely a problem, and it's been a concern of mine since I started at the city. And I think that we need to keep that in focus and make sure that it's a priority and it doesn't get forgotten about.
Candidate Selnick.
Yes, it's actually part of my platform, improving the parks and the beaches and whatnot. We have some parks that are really good, and we have some parks that are in bad shape. The skateboard park right by the airport, for example, toilets are trashed. There's no landscaping, and we need more. Part of that problem has been in the past. Some developers have said they're going to put in parks and they never do. So we need to overhaul our parks plan, and we need better input from our Parks Commission to identify how do we best use and maintain and have those parks available that we currently have, and where else in the city do we have city land, or we can have other means of public-private partnerships to create those additional park spaces. I know we're doing things like a Neil Corazon and whatnot. So it's all about efforts and focus and planning, and that's one of the things that I would want to work on with our city and get input from the residents.
Candidate McGee.
Well, I grew up around parks, definitely balled around my park, and you got to make it safe. You can't have the gang members keep running through the parks and taking control of the parks. That's number one. And then what? Real estate investor come in, take up all the land space, and then we don't have no land space for parks. What are we gonna do, people? You got to pick one of them: real estate investor or more open space. I go with more open space. We don't need enough. Pretty soon they'll be building skyscrapers in Oceanside because we don't have enough land space. Instead of go wide, they're gonna go up now. So that's just what I feel. Make parks safer, more police presence around some of these dangerous parks. That might help.
Thank you. Candidate Joyce?
I think part of this is getting more community engagement again in the process of developing these parks that we're looking at now, and also in making access more open to all of our neighborhoods. So equitable access in the fields is really important. And I want to just take a look at El Corazon right now. It's the heart of our city. It's a beautiful, big, green, open space. There are lots of different things that have been in that area too. But everyone in the city is looking at that space as, is that going to be our open space jewel, or is it going to be developed and shipped away one by one? If you look at Park One, which we just had a meeting the other day, Park One has already lost a big chunk of the park to a parking lot. That's not open space. We can't keep doing this. We have to hold true. When we say we're going to make a green open space in the heart of our city for our people to access, El Corazon has to be prioritized as that open space.
Thank you. To District 1, what would you do to help neighborhoods learn to live with higher densities needed to provide housing? Candidate Robinson.
I think the important thing when we do is to, first of all, the people that live in the area need to understand why a development is allowed or not allowed. And I know that happens a lot at city council. The residents come in and talk about the things that they don't want and they don't like. And sometimes the city council has to vote and allow, or the planning commission vote and allow a development. And I think part of that is to make sure that we educate our citizens very well so they understand what rules that we have to operate by, and also to advocate for things to make higher densities more attractive, such as better public transportation. So parking is not the issue. And that seems to be one of the bigger issues with density, is the parking issues. And so we really, and then work with those developers to ensure that, encourage them to provide more parking. And I think by working together and educating people, we can make the pain of that a little less.
Candidate Dominguez.
I agree that we need to work with the people, the residents of the district, to ensure that any development, they have a buy-in or say so in the development. Also, I saw that they were planning to put a new high density building over by the transit center. It got rejected by the planning commission, called it a big ugly box. So there also needs to be any building, the architectural style needs to fit the community. It also needs to have all the sufficient parking so that it is not taken away the parking from some of the residents that live inland in the community.
Thank you. District 1, you have a citizen who believes that the motorcycle police officers are a waste of resources and could be diverted to needed areas. Are you willing to evaluate and reallocate police resources where needed? Candidate Selnick.
Well, yes, we should always be looking at resources, but we should be talking to the police first and understand how it's working. I did a police ride along and spent several hours in there, and they are understaffed. They need more resources. They need a headquarters. But we should always be looking at their plans. And every citizen's entitled to their opinion. But I would want to defer to the experts in terms of what's the best way to police and make sure they have the proper resources to do it.
Candidate McGee.
Can you state the question again, please, for me?
Of course I can. There's a citizen who believes that the motorcycle cops in Oceanside are a waste of resources and could be diverted to needed areas. Would you be willing to evaluate and reallocate those police resources where needed?
Well, definitely we take some of the cops that are patrolling the beach area and bring them into our bad neighborhoods to help out. That's what I see when I'm down there. I see more cops patrolling the beach area and they're forgetting about our neighborhood. So when the young lady was killed over here, we didn't get no added patrols. I was wondering, why is that? Why don't we get more stepped up patrols? You know, maybe we could have the motorcycle cop riding up and down the neighborhood and the communities. You know, that would be great. But yeah, I'm all for it if it's going to help the community.
Thank you. Candidate Joyce.
When we're talking about public safety, I think it's really important to think about what we're asking our police officers to do right now. We're asking them to do too many things that are outside of the scope of what they were trained for and what they are supposed to be doing. Police officers shouldn't be the first ones to the scene when we have an extreme mental health crisis. And our mental health crises are they're taking over because we've had such a difficulty with accessing care. So they also are taking the lead on our homeless crisis. They have to be the first ones on scene because we don't have anyone else to do that job. I think we need to invest some of our Measure X funds, which are for public safety, into people who are trained to do these things, these really important tasks that we need our city to be handling. That way we take the pressure off of the police on doing things that they're outside of their scope of what they should be doing.
Candidate Jensen.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree that, you know, the police are taking on way more than their share, and we are unfortunately very understaffed, and we have programs that we're working on to try and attract law enforcement, and programs in our schools that you know, we could entice more people from the neighborhoods to actually join the police and become officers. And that way we have a force of you know, local people that have grown up in Oceanside and know the community well. To the question, yes, I think that any department should be fluid and be able to evaluate what's working, what's not working, put the resources where they're needed. And I know that we have neighborhood policing going on in our community centers. They're having meetings with the neighborhood police, and I encourage everybody in the neighborhoods to go to those meetings where your voice can be heard. And you know, but absolutely, yes, I believe the resources should be put where they're.
Thank you. Thank you for that. District 2, what is your plan for the Morro Hills development, if any? Candidate Dominguez.
Morro Hills is a unique area in Oceanside, actually unique in the whole county of San Diego. It's 3,200 contiguous acres of farmland and open space. My platform is to work toward trying to develop agritourism in the area. I think that piecemeal development of Morro Hills would be a huge loss to the city. I believe that we can have our open spaces, the farmland, by working with the residents, the farmers in Morro Hills, the residents of Morro Hills, to develop a plan to have agritourism. I would love to see a beach to farm bike trail and more biking in the area. I think that it'd be a huge loss to the city to just pave that over and develop the area.
Candidate Robinson.
Thank you. So let me just put out there that the development that's going on, that will be starting, the North River Farms is going to happen. That's been settled, so we can look beyond that. And I think one of the smart things that City Council did is to put a moratorium after that decision, that we would not develop any or look at any other developments until such time as the South Morro Hills development plan was finished and approved, and a comprehensive agritourism plan. And I will agree that I think agritourism is going to be the solution for out there. We need to develop that wisely. I've met with a lot of the farmers, and we need to keep them in mind that if farmers aren't successful, farms aren't successful, and the farming will cease to exist. So we need to work with everybody out there that has a vested interest. Thank you.
I suspect District 1 wants to answer a similar question, so here's your version of it. In the Lilac fire, people were told to shelter in place because Highway 76 was so jammed with traffic. Do you support putting more houses in South Morro Hills? We'll ask candidate Joyce to answer first.
So I do not think sprawl development is the best use of that land. I think protecting our farmland is really important, and protecting our farmland means not just saying, don't touch it, don't do anything with it. It means the city needs to be actively helping farmers survive. It is really difficult for farmers to survive right now. They're being squeezed by all kinds of issues. And so the city needs to be active. If we're going to say, yes, we need to protect this farmland, then we also need to step up and say, look, we're going to help you figure out a way to make it work, because it's important to the identity of our city. Also of note, the Lilac fire was brought up. That is the biggest concern about our sustainable plans, is that we have developments going up without a thought of the fact that a fire could sweep in and devastate these neighborhoods and trap people in those areas because we have not put the right infrastructure in place. So I do not support broad sprawl development. I do want to protect our farmland, and I think we should be active in that and not just hand out mandates, but we should be actively supportive as well.
Candidate Jensen.
I agree that we have to protect our farmland. I think that we could do more. I think we need to get the purple pipe reclaimed water out to the farmers, because water is hugely expensive, and it makes it impossible for a lot of people to grow what they want to grow. Just the price of water alone. I know there's people with small farms that have $10,000 a month water bills. So I mean, what can you grow that would even cover the water? And that is a problem. So I'd like to see the purple pipe stretch to the farmers. I think with the Lilac fire, I think that we learned a lot. I think we need to have a comprehensive evacuation plan so that people are aware of, you know, the best way to get out, and have different strategic plans for different areas. And that fire it's terrifying. And I think that we need to really revisit our evacuation planning. And
Thank you. Candidate Selnick.
Yes, I've talked to residents in District 2, and their top concern is they're not anti any development. They just want smart development, and they want to be part of that process in terms of what that means. I mean, overall, the way Rick described it, I think is the most accurate in terms of what's going to happen in the moratorium. But it also alludes to the bigger problem we have is developments without properly developing the rest of the infrastructure. And you mentioned Highway 76, and there are no plans, according to Caltrans in the city, to do anything about 76. So we need to look at all the roads and the bridges and the highways, and we need to be looking at how do we properly get those things fixed with infrastructure, water, roads, etc., so that we can do proper development. And that's part of the problem. Thanks.
Candidate McGee.
I'm just gonna say less development for real estate investor, and just keep the farmland as it is. Because if you get more houses, development, then you're gonna have problems when the fire comes, or if the fire comes. You don't want that. And just like they were saying, the water, we're in a drought people, and then we keep bringing more buildings in to take more water. I guess nobody's thinking. They just think our problem is just going to disappear one day, but it's not. It's going to get bigger and bigger and worse and worse. So I'm opposed to any kind of development in farmland.
Thank you. District 2, what do you think about the current process for filling open seats in the city council? We'll start with candidate Dominguez.
The process, I'm assuming the current process, you're talking about the appointment process where the council majority appoints for the, well, elections. The seats need to be filled either through an appointment, but we need to at some point run an election. I'm not in favor of having an appointment, like say somebody gets appointed 3 years with a term left and they sit in that appointment for 3 years. Really, the voters did not get a choice to fill that seat. So I think that really the voters ought to be the ones to make the decision as to who fills the vacancy. So for a time, for an interim basis, an appointment will work, but I would put a limit on it within so many days and then have an election.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson?
I think in the way the city currently has it set up, it works. I think the cost of doing a special election for one seat can be astronomical. And when we talk about trying to manage budgets and make sure that we have money available for things that for our youth and parks and programs like that, I think having the appointment process is a way of ensuring that we don't put money into an election when we might be having one come up, like a midterm or a 4-year election. So I'm pretty satisfied with the way the process works right now.
Thank you all for that. I have pages and pages of questions to go, so I think I'll give you a little break. I'm kidding. I do have some announcements to make before I let you do your closing comments. I truly do have lots of questions, though, and it means your community just wants to learn more about you. So I hope you will provide them with those opportunities. What I want to remind them of is November 8th is Election Day. I suspect everyone watching this is already a registered voter, but if for some reason you know somebody who isn't, the last day to register is October 28th. However, if you still don't get that person registered by the 28th, they can even vote day of on a provisional ballot and register that day. So we have a lot of opportunity in California to practice democracy. Let's make sure everybody's out there doing it. You should be starting to see your ballots arrive in the mail October 8th. I know that's a question we get all the time. If you want to follow up on where your ballot is at, find out where the drop-off locations are, or maybe you want to go to a polling place, all that information is readily available on sdvote.com. That's sdvote.com. More information on forums, pros and cons, as I said, are available on the League's website, which is lwvnncsd.org. Now we're going to start our closing comments. We're going to do it in the reverse order that we did our opening comments. You have 2 minutes to share your final thoughts and maybe address any question that wasn't given directly to your district. Beginning in reverse order, it means we start with candidate Dominguez.
Oceanside government has not been responsive to the needs of its residents for a long time. As a result, we've had sprawl development, increased traffic problems, increases in homelessness and crime. Our jobs to housing ratio is one of the lowest in the San Diego region. Consequently, a large percentage, roughly 80% of Oceanside residents in the workforce commute to jobs located outside of the city. I will work to attract living wage jobs to Oceanside. I will work to provide more affordable housing in Oceanside. I support smart development in Oceanside, development that is built in the corridors that have the infrastructure to support the development. Seniors make up a large percentage of Oceanside residents. It's projected to grow significantly in the next decade, but Oceanside city government is not addressing their needs. As a senior citizen myself, I will be a tireless advocate for their needs. I will work to establish a commission to address seniors' issues. I've been endorsed by the Sierra Club, San Diego County Democratic Party, United States Congressman Mike Levin, Oceanside Mayor Esther Sanchez, and San Diego County Supervisor Tara Lawson Reamer, and many other community leaders. I've been named a gun sense candidate by the Moms Demand Action and the San Diego County San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention. I have the experience and deep community ties and compassion to make a difference in Oceanside. I have represented our workers, created job and opportunities for our youth, and worked to clean up our environment and advocated for our community at the state and federal level. With your vote, I can address even more of these problems facing our community and show why Oceanside is the best place to live and work in California. Thank you. Daniel Dominguez, Oceanside City Council candidate, District 2.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson.
Well, first, I want to thank you, Elizabeth, and all of the folks that were responsible for putting this on, and everybody that's watching tonight. Appreciate you spending the time and being engaged. After 45 years of public service, the last 6 as your fire chief, I have a lot of service left to give. And I know that as a city council member here in the city of Oceanside, I can work for you, represent you, and especially as I'm running in District 2, for those in District 2, to be your ears to take your message to city council. In short, I can continue to make a difference for others like I have for many, many years. Basically, I want to do this through maintaining the character and values of the city of Oceanside and our diverse communities, especially those in District 2 as we see development coming in. I want to expand the level of public safety provided to Oceanside citizens and visitors. And I don't say improve it because I think it's some of the finest around, but we do need to expand it. We do need to support those police officers and firefighters and our lifeguards that make sure they have the facilities and the environment, the tools they need to do their job. And provide wise governance guided by the interests of the citizens, the technical competence of our city professionals, and then my own research to make sure that I am digging into the issues and the problems and make sure that I'm making the best decisions possible for you, the citizens of Oceanside. I have a number of endorsements, Chamber of Commerce, our fire, police and lifeguard unions, Supervisor Jim Desmond, our Deputy Mayor Ryan Keim, Council Member Peter Weiss, and many other former council members here in the city have endorsed me. And I just look forward to soon sitting in the seat at council, listening to you and bringing your message forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Joyce.
I really do want to say thank you to everyone who came tonight. It's so important that we get together and we share our ideas. We have these hard conversations, not just when we're coming up for election, not in the month before November 8th, but it's important that we have these conversations ongoing. I've served on the school board in a way that has been present, that has been open, even the hardest time in education's decades and decades of education has been the hardest time, but we've come together and we made sure that our children were safe and our community was served. So we recognize that this system has lost touch with a lot of our voters. I'm running to bring our folks back in, and I'm running to bring the people that have been fighting this whole time some reinforcements. I want you to think about who's going to actually fight for our youth, who's been doing the work in the neighborhoods and who's been doing the work with organizations on the ground. I want you to think about who's going to fight for our climate and our walkable and bikeable city, which we've had plans forever, but just haven't gotten done. It's critical that we get work done. Who's going to stand up to greed and to money and politics? Who's going to be present and accountable to the people that they're trying to serve? I'm going to fight for hardworking Oceansiders because that's what they deserve. I'm going to be around, and you're going to be able to call me up and say, hey, let's talk this through and let's have a hard conversation, because I know you're going to listen, even if we're not the same red or blue, or if we're not in the same neighborhood. I'm ready to serve the city that I love, and I'm so excited to wrap up this campaign with the amazing volunteers that have joined me throughout the whole way. If you like having fun, go to ericjoyce.org, and you want to serve your city too, join me, come hang out, and let's talk about the future of the city, and let's get some things done while we're doing it. My name is Eric Joyce, and I'm running for District 1, and I hope that you'll take the time to check it out and support me.
Candidate Jensen.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight as well. It's a great platform, great experience, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this. And as a third generation Oceanside businesswoman, I just want to assure everybody that I have deep roots in our community. And every decision that I make, I have my own family in mind. With the future of Oceanside, my grandchildren, my children, everybody's affected. And I believe it's important to have a diverse city council. I am the only woman running. I'm the only mother on the council that would continue to be on the council if I'm reelected. And I think it's important to have the perspective of women and of mothers and grandmothers. And I think that it's just the diversity of our city council needs to be maintained. You know, our city is a very diverse city, and you know, my grandparents immigrated from Mexico. My other grandparents came from Minnesota, and both sides of my family have found their American dream in Oceanside. And I just want to continue to build Oceanside into a strong, sustainable community where people can live and work and not have to live outside of our city. If you work in our city, our teachers, our police, our fire, we should be able to live where we work. And I want to make sure that we have the housing for that and we have the infrastructure for that. So I hope that the voters will see what we're able to accomplish on the council and continue to support me in that endeavor. And everybody's free to contact me anytime they want. I'm happy to answer questions. I love to get coffee and meet with people. And the support that I've had so far. Thank you.
Candidate Selnick.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You know, it's not about having all the answers. No one does. And if they tell you that, you're just fooling you. It's about knowing how to get the right answers. You, the voters, are hiring a city council member who should be working for you, and you should hire the best. Although all the candidates are well-meaning, the question for you is, who can best represent you and get the job done? I believe I'm the best qualified and best represent you with my over 30-year track record of proven success and results in the military, the government, the business, and community service. We need new faces that will shake up the status quo, as many residents have given up hope that the district and the city will listen to fix their problems. Residents tell me that the city does not plan well, works in a haphazard way, and has no real direction or vision for the future, and puts developers and tourists first and residents second. It doesn't have to be that way. It just takes vision, good leadership and planning, a willingness to take on the tough issues, and involving all the different groups in the city to get agreement and consensus on the way forward by putting residents first. If elected, I will get results. In doing so, I always put the needs and the desires of the residents first, and will work with the mayor, city council, and city staff to ensure that the residents will be listened to and their input used to reach consensus and create a win-win for all concerned. To properly represent the district, I will be independent, transparent, take on the tough issues, and get results. You will always be able to count on me to fight for the district, serve the diverse needs of the residents, and be responsive to each and every one of you. By working together, we can truly make a difference and successfully tackle the important issues that have languished in the district in Oceanside. We can make our city the best that it can be and the jewel of San Diego County. We should accept nothing less. I would appreciate your support, and I'm asking for your vote. If you'd like to find out more about me or contact me or talk to me, please go to my website, darinselnick.com. I look forward to serving you. Thank you.
Candidate McGee.
League of Women Voters, thanks for having me. Vote for Alvin McGee, Oceanside City Council District 1. I'm a strong community leader. I'm currently on the Residents Advisory Board with the City of Oceanside. I won the Community Impact Award in 2017, dealing with the Boys and Girls Club of Oceanside and working in the middle schools with the kids. I fight for women's rights, and we really need to get this homeless situation under control. And we need to do a welfare check on all our seniors. When I ran for mayor in 2020, I sat outside Walmart talking to people, listening to their stories. And it was frightening when some people say they need to hook up with a senior just to get a place to live. And that is frightening in this day and age, please. And we need police accountability, and we need it real bad. We need justice for every rape victim, okay? We can't wait around on this, people. There's people's lives being affected. And I just want to say, vote for Alvin McGee, Oceanside City Council District 1. I'll be there every step of the way, like I've always been in this life of mine. Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you to you candidates. It takes courage and a willingness to run, and we are really grateful that you are so actively participating in democracy. Thank you all, and thank the community for coming out and joining us this evening. On behalf of Represents Us, Oceanside, and our own League of Women Voters, North County, San Diego, thank you.